So I wanted to lose weight, but still keep a good social life and still eat the things I like. Of course, everybody wants that. But I created a system combining science, psychology, and AI. And in the last 7 weeks, I've lost 5 kilos, which is about 11 pounds, while going out several times a week, eating out, drinking, and basically leading a life I enjoy. Because the real challenge in losing fat is not knowing about nutrition. It's about being consistent by following a system. In other words, not relying on willpower, but instead having a strong incentive to make lower calorie choices naturally without much effort. Just to be clear, this isn't medical advice. It's just me sharing my experiment. Always consult a health professional unless it's a fat nutritionist. The mechanics of fat loss are simple. Eat fewer calories than you burn. There's no debate here. People lose weight on every kind of diet out there. Low carb, low fat, carnivore, vegan, 1 meal a day, 9 meals an hour. Doesn't matter. But no one loses fat eating more calories than they burn, or nobody gains fat by eating less. That's a fact, period. Every successful diet works because it makes it easier to eat fewer calories. So that's the difference between the diet you like and the diet you don't like. But they all can be effective. And that's great news because it means you can lose weight while eating anything. But to summarize, less processed food tends to make you feel fuller per calorie. And protein is the most satiating macronutrient. And if you train, if you lift weights, you need to keep that high anyway. So besides tracking calories, it's also important if you want to keep an eye on protein. Timing. No one ever said you need to track calories on a daily basis, on a daily time frame. In fact, thinking in weeks or week as a unit makes much more sense because one day can be very different from the day before. But weeks tend to follow a similar pattern for each person. More structured weekdays and more relaxed weekends. And the cycle repeats. So it's easier if you count the calories for the week instead of having a daily target. 3. Don't add, subtract. Instead of logging calories by adding and hoping you hit your goal by the end of the period, we'll flip it. We'll set a weekly balance at the start of the week and subtract from that balance as we go. That way you can see how each meal affects your goal and you have a clear incentive to save calories, as it were. It makes planning much easier. Because if I know I want to go out for drinks on Friday, and if I'm gonna order delivery on a lazy Sunday, I know every calorie I save during the week gives me more freedom in the weekend when I can have those relaxed moments. And in my experience, that change makes it easy for me to choose better choices, what I eat, what I skip. And every time I skip calories, I feel good thinking about the reward coming down the line. So I'm not miserable. I'm not making a sacrifice. It's more of an investment. And as always, the brain isn't primarily rational. So if we have those incentives and punishments, that works better in the way of making ourselves behave the way that is more optimal. 4. Constant feedback. With a smartphone and AI, it's ridiculously easy to log everything you eat and know at that moment the calories and the proteins. And the good thing about using AI is that you don't need to know the calories. You just log the food and ask for it to estimate the calories and protein, or you can even just send a photo and it will estimate for you. Of course, it's better to be as precise as possible, but estimates can be good enough. So every time I eat something or when I'm about to eat something, I log it into the AI and instantly see how many calories it will cost me and how many I'll have left for the day or the week. By the way, when I say left for the day, I'm talking about an average. Like we said, we're not counting calories for the day, but I think it's useful to have like an average to see if I'm below or above it. That way I can decide on the spot if what I'm doing, what I'm eating, is worth it. Or at least I know that I will have some time to compensate for whatever calories I'm eating more than I should. And after a short while, you'll develop a great intuition for what's worth eating, what's wasteful, and what is potentially a reward for weekdays or for weekends. And sad spoiler, cheese and cocktails better be really good if you want to consume them, since fat and alcohol are the most calorie-dense substances out there. So let's wrap it up with a step-by-step process that anybody can repeat if they want to experiment to tinker with this system. Again, not medical advice, just an experiment. So, step 1, how to set a weekly calorie goal. Calculate how many daily calories you need to lose weight using online calculators or AI, and I'll leave a prompt in the description. And I recommend aiming 100 or 200 calories below that estimated number just to be safe. So get that daily number, multiply it by 7, and that's your weekly target or your weekly balance in our case. Write that down. Step 2, which is optional but highly recommended, calculate your daily protein goal to avoid losing muscle. In that case, it is a daily goal. Let's aim high to be safe, especially if you are training, because proteins keeps you full, so it's also wise and it'll make your life easier to keep it high. So just multiply your weight in kilos by 2, and if you have very high body fat, use your lean body mass in kilos instead. So you multiply it by 2, and that's your daily daily protein minimum. If you can exceed that, great. Step 3, create your AI assistant. I like using Gemini because the free version doesn't limit the amount of prompts or logs you can make, and its estimates are fairly accurate. The the calculations it does subtracting are fairly accurate as well, although it is good to keep an eye on it. In my experience, the calculations will either be correct or way off, so you will be quickly able to spot any delusions, any crazy stuff it's doing, and you can correct it on the spot. But Gemini is usually, and I'm gonna leave this prompt as well in the description. You can just copy and paste it with your target that you calculated in step 1. And then we go to step 4, which is to track absolutely everything you consume. And don't forget liquids, because they also have calories. People tend to forget that. So you can check nutrition labels or ask the AI to estimate by describing the food or sending a photo. When unsure, again, overestimate the calories so we are safe. And because we never know anyway if a dish was made with in oil or it has some hidden calories in sauces, stuff like that. So when in doubt, overestimate a bit. And a tip to make it easier is to just eat similar meals for most of the time. If you meal prep or if you buy prepped meals, I think that's the easiest way to have a constant, way of keeping track of calories. It's easier. For some reason, it makes you crave less food. So I think this is a pro tip. You should absolutely try it. And you can also save those meals, like as meal 1, meal 2, because if you repeat them a lot, just save them on AI so it's easier to log it. And step number 5, monitor and adjust. So you can weigh yourself, take measurements, or just track yourself how you look in the mirror. And I recommend picking at least 2 of those options so you don't get fooled by some variations, because each method has its blind spots. So pick 2 and adjust your targets or your intake as needed. Give your body at least 2 weeks to react so you can adjust the number of calories you consume or the targets or how much you eat or you don't eat. And again, always keep an eye on the math because AI is not great with that yet. But if the numbers go crazy, they'll usually go pretty crazy and you'll be able to spot it instantly. And like I said, after a few days of doing it, you know instinctively more or less the calorie values of the things you eat the most, so it will be easier to track. So in conclusion, you cannot make real physical progress without a plan or a system. Because if it were easy, anyone would be shredded and there wouldn't be any out of shape doctors, trainers, and nutritionists. This is the easiest way I've found to stay consistent while still leaving a lot of room to be social, to go out, to eat out, to drink, to be comfortable, to have a happy, fulfilling life. And of course, you can eat and drink whatever you want, but some things that make it even easier. Eat lots of veggies and lean protein, train regularly, try to prioritize sleep well. You can use whey protein shakes as a snack, a low calorie, very high in protein snack, and avoid liquid calories because it's so easy to consume a lot of calories when they are in liquid form. Being strategic means you can save calories to spend them later on whatever you want. And if you ever manage the budget in your life, you know the joy of saving in one place to splurge guilt-free elsewhere. It's very satisfying. And this is the same that's happening in the system. Instead of sacrifice, we have strategy, we have science, we have pleasurable choices that we can do without guilt. Using technology and psychology to our advantage is something we don't take much advantage, but it has the huge potential to create real life changes. And I wanted to post this on a Sunday so you'd have time to start the week this way if you choose to follow the system or to experiment with it. Let me know what you think and if you're going to try it. And if you like this video, I think you really like the video that's appearing on your screen right now. It has the same vibe, a lot of practical information, and I'll see you in the next one.